Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When at Work podcast. You're with Julian Leahy. Oh, excuse me. Let's do that again. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When at Work podcast. You're with Julian Leahy. And today I'm joined by Tom Wedding, who is somewhere in Sydney. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Hey, how's it going? Excited to be on and share a couple interesting things around Facebook groups.
Great. I'm excited to have you on, Tom, particularly when I saw that you have some great stuff about Facebook group marketing. Facebook groups are a really effective way to build around you. And what I wanted to talk to Tom about was how do we do it and still work in 2022?
Yeah. So definitely still a powerful tool to use in 2022. And I think this is going to be around forever because communities, they're always there. They've always existed and they will always exist because as humans, we love connection. We love talking with people. So communities, whether that's on Facebook or another platform, are always going to be around. Eventually it might transition from Facebook groups to some other platform decides it's the best community platform. But for now, Facebook groups are just really crushing it because you can build an awesome business community online without having to worry too much about all of these little intricacies. It's really easy to kind of bring people in and create that ecosystem where you can sell to them.
And I noticed some people, they struggle to get traction with their group. What are some of the frustrations and things that people do wrong with as far as building a community on Facebook?
Yeah, so I think the biggest mistake people make and that I've seen people make is just not treating it like a long-term strategy. I think a lot of people, they start this group, they start pitching like straight away. They've got sales pitches and they're just posting all their stuff like, hey, buy my course, buy this, buy that. And it's not the way to approach a group at all. A group is a long-term asset that you build. It's your own audience that you're building essentially. It's similar to building an email list, right? You're building your own audience that you can continuously market to. And so you want to go about it a smart way instead of just kind of ruining that vision that you have for the group right from the get-go when you start pitching too soon and just treating people like crap. So that's probably the biggest mistake I see people make is just not treating it like a long-term asset like it really should be.
And I guess it's all about, like you mentioned, that people start pitching their products straight away. And I think that's a common mistake that people make. So, what should people do instead of doing that?
Yeah, so instead of doing that, I like to do what I call the founding members, right? And this is basically creating 100 to 200, like the first people who join your group, creating these deep connections with them, right? And just giving them so much value that they look at you as like a friend. And that's really important to do that because if you can inspire 100 to 200 people to continuously engage in the group, that just spirals the engagement and everyone else who joins sees that happening and they're like, I want to be a part of this, I want to contribute to this community too. And so that kind of is what creates that flywheel effect of the group engagement just going up is when you create those 100 founding members, I like to call them. And so, yeah, really deep connections, giving them like free stuff, like free value, like jumping on coaching calls for free, like just give them everything. If you have a program, give them a program for free, like just really throw everything at these people and give them everything because those are going to be the foundation to the group, those people.
And are you doing lives in the group? Is that a big part of it?
Yeah, so in terms of content strategy, live streams obviously very important to connect the audience. I think Q&A calls work a lot better than just you speaking on a live stream because then it's more interactive. Like you get 5-10 people from the group into a Zoom call and you all just like wrap off different questions, talk about stuff. That's a really interesting way to do it. And also what you're doing, like have guests on as well. That's a really great way to build some authority and credibility. Especially if you get some like high tier guests to jump on and do live streams with you. That way kind of you get to borrow their authority basically. And so that's a great way to do it there. But also you want to be posting a bunch of like character building posts as well, like showing you and your lifestyle and who you are as a person because it's personal brand, right? You really need to show that through your group. Like, hey, this is me, this is my life, this is what's going on, this is what I'm up to. And that really helps people to connect with you because it's not just about authority, it's also about connection as well. And once you have those two pieces, those are the main goals of your content. It should be the main focuses of your content is connection and authority.
Definitely. So with these Q&A calls, you're bringing people off the group into Zoom for a bit more personal touch. And then, I mean, at what point are you pitching? How do you work that out?
Yeah, so for the first 200 members, I would never pitch a single thing. just build relationships. That's very important to keep that in mind. And then once you kind of get past, that 200 to 500, 800, 1,000 members, that's when you really want to start focusing on your monetization strategy. A couple of different ways to do it. I would strongly recommend doing what's called appointment setting. And so basically what that looks like is for every new group member who joins, you're sending them a message. And so there's a process, right? You treat your group like a funnel. And so everyone who joins the group, here's the process that they go through. You want to clearly map that out. So for us, what that process looks like is someone joins the group, the VA is going to tag them in the welcome post. They're going to be tagged in a couple other posts as well. Then they're going to be sent a message. And so that's in Messenger. We send them a message saying, hey, thanks for joining the group. Just wanted to know if you wanted this XYZ resource that might help you out with whatever. Again, it has to be specific to whatever the niche is you're targeting. And then basically from that conversation, that's where you're like, asking more questions, getting deeper onto like, okay, what's this person like problem? What are they struggling with? How can we actually help them? Does the offer like help them solve that? And that's when you want to transition to booking a sales call, right? And so that's basically the process. And there's a couple key fundamentals to making that work smoothly. I think it's really about like not rushing things, right? Not forcing the conversations to a sale straight away, because a lot of people a lot of the time are going to want to consume some of the content in the group first before having that conversation that leads to a sales call. And so it's about taking it slow and realizing that each person like has their own pace they want to go at in terms of getting to know you, like knowing your credibility, and then moving on to actually buying your products.
Yes, it's one of those things where the moment somebody is pushing something, if you haven't got that relationship with them, you immediately put the walls up. And I see a lot of people do that. And you look at what they're doing, whether it be a Facebook group or whatever, and you can see, okay, they're trying to sell a course or whatever. And the real good ones are the ones where you go, what are they selling? How are they monetizing? And you don't even know, because
Exactly.
all you see is value. And I think that is one of the things that people they're too anxious to make sales. And once you do, really, it's a big problem, and it holds back the trust factor and all of that. So almost hide your pitch is what I recommend.
100%, 100%. I totally agree. Especially when your group's not that established and you don't have that many testimonials, I would definitely focus on just building relationships. Like that is the key to it. And a lot of people miss the whole fact that business is people. Like your connections, your relationships, that's your business. Like the quality of those depends how much money you make, how big your business is, how scalable you are, all those things. So it's really important to build some of those really core relationships with people.
Absolutely. And what was I going to say? Yeah. And so you need to have patience. How long does it take until your group starts kicking A?
Yeah, so in terms of like actually crushing it with the group, once you hit around 500 to 800 members, that's really when things start kicking off if you have the right process in place. But if you're appointment setting from that point, you shouldn't have any issues booking too many calls. Again, your process, you got to make sure your process is decent, like you're saying the right things, asking the right questions, and so so on and so forth. But then from 1,000 members onwards, it's going to be pretty easy to get some momentum going. In terms of like growing the group and making sure that people are consistently joining, eventually, if you've positioned your group in the right way, you have the right keywords and stuff, Facebook will show your group organically to people and they will join organically. But at the start, what I found works really, really well is abusing the invite button on the group, right? And so what that strategy looks like is you send out 50 to 80 friend requests to people per day and basically build up your friends list. And then what Facebook allows you to do with the group is use the invite button to invite people on your friends list, right? So each day you're sending about 50 to 80 friend requests per day. Of those, 20, 30 people might accept those requests. And so you're inviting 20 to 30 people per day to the group. And then, 5 to 10 of those people might accept that per day. So you're getting 5 to 10 new group members per day joining the group. That over a month period or more stacks up pretty quick. So you can do the math on that. That works out pretty well. And so that's the only strategy we've done to grow groups from the ground up, like nothing else. No ads, no emails, nothing. Just literally, we just invite people from the friends list. That's it.
Yes. And what I was going to ask you was, can you expect to be thrown in Facebook jail a few times for doing that? And is that a big deal?
No, I've actually have never had an issue with it. I had one client who was doing a launch and with her group, and she was sending out like I think 30 to 40 messages per day, and that got her blocked. So be careful with messages. But in terms of friend requests, you can go up to 100 per day if you want. I'd probably stay away from 100 just to be safe. We stick around 80 as the max. But yeah, in terms of friend requests and inviting, no limits on that. It's really just when you start to send messages that you can get what's called the red ticket doom. Basically, you get blocked from being able to have conversations in Messenger for 24 hours. So that sucks. It's a big setback if you get that red ticket doom. So try not to send 2 messages per day.
Yes, and remember, because you're leading with value and you're sending these, invites to people, if it looks like it's of value, then they're not going to report it as spam, and they're probably going to think, "Oh, I might join this. This looks good, but it's full of pictures." Then they'll probably will ignore you.
100%. So with that invite, it's not actually in Messenger. That invite is just like you're inviting them to the group, and so it just shows up as a notification in their Facebook. It doesn't actually like send them a message. So that's why those don't have like a limit on them, I guess.
Doesn't it automatically put them in the group for a certain period of time, and then they decide whether they want to stay in it or not?
It used to be like that, but they don't do it like that anymore. Now they actually have to accept the request to be in the group.
I gotcha. You talked about, you're getting organic growth. So does that mean that you're using public as the privacy setting or not?
No, so even private groups will show up. It just means that when it's private, they have to answer questions and then like basically ask to join the group instead of just already joining it. And so basically those membership questions, you want to set those up in a certain way too, to get information out of people. And what I find works really well is like asking, okay, cool. Like, what's your business? Where are you trying to go? Like, what's your goal? And then asking them, hey, well, we help people to achieve XYZ result. Is that something you'd be interested in? And then if they answer yes, start a direct conversation from that. And that way it's like such a warmer conversation than if they were just like joining the group out of nowhere. And it's like, hey, welcome to the group. Whereas if they've said yes and put their hand up to wanting help, it's like, okay, cool. Like this is a better conversation to have. So that's kind of how that works. Once you show up organically, your private group will still show up, public group still show up, as long as it's not hidden. Hidden is like the other option you can have, but as long as it's not hidden, private and public groups will show up in the organic search.
And what do you prefer for your groups? So you go with private groups?
Yeah, always private, because then it makes it more exclusive as the community. Like you have to request to join. It's not just you just get thrown in there. Or you can join whenever you want. It's a bit more exclusive, I'd say.
Yeah, you get a bit of FOMO because you want to see what's inside.
But yeah, 100%. Especially when you start posting like highlights from the group, that works really well for attracting more people in as well. Instead of just posting like, "Hey, join my group, it's awesome." Be like, "Okay, cool. Here's the highlights of what happened this week in the group. Like XYZ person did this. Like we posted this interview. Like, share the highlights of the group." That's what gets people excited to join it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. And what's going on at groupgrowth.net, Tom?
Yeah, so groupgrowth.net/sh. There is an awesome case study on there, basically showing you how I built a 6-figure group, selling a coaching program. And so, yeah, it walks you through everything. Like, there's literally nothing left out. I give you the how, the what, everything. Because I just, again, value up front. Like, if you give people value up front, they respect you. And that's how you build relationships and actually sell people stuff. So if you want to check that out, that'll show you like literally the step-by-step of how to build your group. And it'll show you visually, like, here's what to do, here's what to post, here's how to connect with people, here's how to monetize, here's how to do the appointment setting, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out, and it might be some value for you.
Yeah, and you built a group. How big is your group that you built on Facebook doing these strategies?
Yeah, so I have a Scale Hacks group, which is about 4,000 members at the moment. I haven't done anything with that for about a year because it's like an old thing I was doing for my old coaching program. But yeah, in terms of like size, I think this is the biggest misconception. Everyone wants to have these like 20K, 30K, 50K members in their group, but it's like, it's quality over quantity. A lot of those bigger groups you see, people are just spamming stuff. There's no real quality connections happening, no quality conversations or questions being asked. And so the groups kind of die off after a while. So I think it's really about the quality over quantity. You don't want too many people in your group where it becomes like too saturated. You want it to still remain kind of exclusive, right? Because if you have a group of like 10,000, 20,000 members, people are going to see that and be like, oh, everyone's in there. It's kind of lame. Like it's not exclusive, it doesn't feel fun and exciting. So yeah, I think definitely quality is important.
Especially when there's 20,000 members and there's like 2 likes on each post. It's like a
Yeah.
wasteland.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
you know,
seen so many of those.
yeah, a lot of people have switched over to basically they will have these small groups for whatever they're promoting at the time. Even they will have a different group for each Facebook ad campaign that they're running. And so you'll click through on the Facebook ad, and there might be 20 people in the group, but they're all engaged people that want to be there, and it's much more effective than having these massive kind of groups with no interaction.
100%, so much more effective because you really get to have that one-to-one touch point. And that's why like appointment setting is so powerful, because like you can speak to people on a one-to-one basis like at scale, because an appointment setting as a role can be systemized and outsourced. And so all of a sudden you've got 5, 10 people who all put in like 10 hours per week or more, depending on like how much like actually messages you have, which is like moving the business forward so much more than just your 8 hours per day or whatever you put in yourself. And so you like duplicate your time based on like outsourcing. And so yeah, it's super powerful to like appointment set, because you get that one-to-one touch point of like building relationships without having to do it all yourself.
And you mentioned having VAs to do the welcoming process. So where do you get them from? Are they just group members, or do you get people off Fiverr, or what?
Yes, I find Filipino virtual assistants, and mostly find them from Facebook groups. So Filipino virtual assistant jobs or whatever. There's tons of different Facebook groups you can search up. And yeah, essentially just make a post in the groups and be like, hey, I'm looking for a VA to do XYZ thing. But the important thing is, before you even look for a VA, I find a lot of people just want to like offload stuff, right? They don't know how to do something, so they're like, I'm gonna get a VA to do it, right? That is not the way to approach it at all. You need to be able to understand how to build a system for that first. And so SOPs, like standard operating procedures, are really important to have in place before you ever look at hiring a VA. So for us, we got clear on, okay, cool, what does the group process look like? What tasks actually need to be done? And so we mapped that out, did like task walkthroughs of each of the like video walkthroughs of all of the tasks and how to do it. And then we got a VA, right? Then we made a post like, hey, we're looking for a VA, messaged a couple people, found the right one, made them go through the training videos, and then they're like, okay, cool, they're ready to go. And then just over time, you're fine, and away you go.
Yeah, I relate to that. Definitely, you've got to map out step by step exactly what you want them to do, and that, because if you don't, I find that with a lot of these VAs, they won't work it out for themselves. They will only do what you've told them to do, and if you don't tell them, like with steps in a video, they will just make a mess of it.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. What do you got coming up, Tom? You got something new coming up? Talk about that or not?
Yeah, so launching a new page. Yeah, launching a new paid community. I don't have a link for it yet, which is unfortunate, because I've jumped on so many podcasts the last few weeks and I haven't been able to give a link to anything. So yeah, what I'm launching is like essentially a paid community of people who want to build a freedom business, right? So it's people who are currently in business, but they're stuck, they're overwhelmed, they're scared to look at their phone because there's always a fire to put out, massive to-do lists, just people who are in that kind of situation, helping them to like set up VAs, systems, processes, automation, so that they don't have to be so much in their business, right? And they can kind of remove themselves. And so that's what the whole like vision of the community is just bringing people who want that same goal together, to all provide accountability and support to each other, and just really creating like a collaborative space, I guess. And all for like very affordable price, so it's not like some massive coaching program or something ridiculous like that. So that's kind of the vision that I have for building that. And I guess the main thing for that is just helping people get freedom, because like a lot of people get stuck in their businesses with another job basically, and it's sad to see, because you're just a couple systems, a couple team members away from having freedom.
Yes, absolutely. And you've got to set this up before you start, because what happens, people sometimes are surprised by the growth that they're having and all the systems are not there. And then they're just absolutely running around like a flat out like a lizard drinking is what I was thinking of. And you got to have those systems, and then you can step back and you can just focus on growth rather than, like you said, creating a job for yourself, which is kind of the opposite of what you wanted when you started.
100%. So that's the vision. and I'm sure it'll help a lot of people to scale out quicker.
All right. Well, I'm sure you got your socials on your groupgrowth.net website. I'll put them on the blog as well at whenitworked.com. So if you're interested in what Tom's doing, you can follow him on social media, and he's got some exciting stuff coming up. Thanks for coming on, Tom.
No, thank you for having me on. It was a great time.
Wonderful. Thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry about the internet. I think it might be mine. And we're going to do another episode very soon.
Yes.